Greetings, I'm the Bulgarian Troglodyte. So today I'm gonna talk about kind of couple different topics. So mainly my topic here today is that should we care about what other people think about art? So should we care if somebody says that they hate a film that you love, or if they love a film that you hate, for example? And I think obviously the logical response to that is that we shouldn't care, we should just focus on our own thing and realize that people are different, people like different types of art, and it won't affect our lives at all, or it doesn't affect my life at all if somebody disagrees with me about art. But then at the same time, as people are very emotional beings, we often get angry when somebody says like, oh, I hate Mulholland Drive, and then I'm someone who loves Mulholland Drive, and then I get a bit agitated when I see a comment about somebody hating Mulholland Drive and calling it pretentious garbage or whatever. But of course, I shouldn't get angry about that, but I just cannot help myself sometimes, and I do get angry about it. And I've done lots of self-reflection on this topic recently. I even talked about it a bit with Altes after we talked about the last two films for the podcast. But I've kind of been thinking that I should really try to maybe change my mindset and kind of try to not think about what other people think so much and try to just focus on my own thing, because that would be more productive. It would save a lot of time, and then it would allow my mind to concentrate on things that matter to me more. Yeah, so I could focus more on art and engaging with art, for example, rather than focusing on what other people think about something that I care about or something that I hate. But I've always been quite masochistic when it comes to this topic, so sometimes I go look for things that will annoy me online. So for example, sometimes I might click on a video that says that, like, or that is titled that top 10 things that make Christopher Nolan a genius or something like that, and I absolutely loathe Nolan's films and I hate kind of the Nolan fan base. So obviously I will get kind of angry when I go look at those comments, because I think they are absolute nonsense. But sometimes I just cannot help myself and I go look for that type of stuff, even though I know it's not very productive, it's a waste of time. I should be focusing on other more productive things, fun things, or things that will make my life better or somebody else's life better, instead of just dwelling on something petty and stupid like this. But yeah, I cannot help it. So I've always kind of realized how toxic and stupid this is when I think about it logically, when I think about it with reason. But of course, again, we people are very emotional beings, so sometimes you can think that something is stupid rationally, but then at the same time your emotions pull you away towards a different direction, and then the logic kind of goes out of the window. And that happens to me oftentimes, not just with this, but with many other things, that I kind of let my emotions take over the rationality, you could say. Because in the end, what does it matter if other people, again, love Nolan? Like, it should be just, I should just be happy that people have a thing that they're passionate about and not get angry about it, because it doesn't, again, make my life any worse if other people love Nolan and I don't like Nolan's films and I prefer, I don't know, Lynch or Nagisa Oshima or whatever. It doesn't really matter. And I think I'm quite immature when it comes to this issue, and I should really kind of grow out of it. So this is also why I've been thinking about these things lately, is because I want to kind of grow out of that resentment and anger and try to make my time more productive and more enjoyable, instead of focusing on stupid things like this. Yeah. But there are so many kind of common opinions and stuff that online about art that often make me angry. So one example of that is in music, for example, David Gilmour, so the guitarist of Pink Floyd, and he of course has a huge fan base. But they often say that David Gilmour says more with one note than other, often kind of faster guitar players say with 1,000 notes. And I absolutely hate that opinion, and I kind of have lots of resentment and anger when I hear that, because I often just think, or my emotions think that, oh, those people just don't understand faster guitar playing, so that's why they say that about David Gilmour. Yeah. And I think it's sometimes, I mean, that comment, for example, is kind of stupid to me. I mean, it's okay if you prefer David Gilmour to faster guitar players, but saying that faster guitar playing cannot have any emotion, that's just so stupid. And I myself can enjoy both kind of slow solos and faster solos and yeah, whatever, but that's not really the point here. But yeah, there are just so many of those types of kind of things that annoy me online, even though they shouldn't. But what is the way out of this type of mindset? Because of course one cannot just say that, oh yeah, now today I'm gonna just get better and not care about it. It doesn't really work like that. Of course you often need a kind of a strategy for your mind to kind of slowly get better and try to focus on other things. It's hard to just kind of flip a switch and get better at something that relates to your emotions and your mind. So I'm now kind of trying to think of a strategy for myself and how I can kind of use my time to again for more productive things and more enjoyable things. Yeah. But I of course think that there are many reasons why we people obsess about other people's opinions. Again, I think the internet and social media has of course made this way worse when you are constantly exposed to other people's opinions. But I think also there are lots of things that lots of things in our kind of personal lives that can of course make us more inclined to care about other people's opinions. So again, how have your relationships been, especially in your formative years, like what type of family you have, and lots of these types of things that might relate to like trauma in your life might kind of give you that overall resentment, and then you also feel more resentment when it comes to these kind of petty things like opinions about art online. Yeah. And I think that's the case for me also, that many kind of personal experiences have informed my kind of toxic relationship with these comments online and stuff like that. But at the same time, I think I can applaud myself for the fact that at least I don't like go to other people's comment sections and say that, fuck you, how dare you like Christopher Nolan. I just kind of keep it to myself, and of course on my own channel I might say that, yeah, I wish people liked something else, but at least I'm not gonna kind of go ruin other people's experiences in their own kind of spaces. And I never like really write anything on online forums and stuff like that. I can just read other people's debates about this stuff, but I usually don't kind of partake in it myself, because that would be even more waste of time if I went there on like other people's like YouTube channels, for example, and wrote like really long comments about why I hate Nolan and why I think Nolan fans are stupid or something like that. I think it would be just so stupid. So at least I'm not petty enough to do stuff like that. But often you see online like even like middle-aged and even like elderly guys who even at that age are still so full of resentment that they go ruin other people's fun by being assholes, and I don't really want to be like that, so I can kind of contain myself and not do stuff like that, although I've never kind of really felt like I wanted to do that type of stuff. So yeah, but I still use so much time on being angry about stupid stuff like this. Yeah. And I often, like, when I talk with some of my like friends like Tony, we often kind of complain about these types of things for like very long periods of time, although it's so much fun at the same time. So I don't kind of want to lose that completely, but I do kind of want to lose the anger and resentment side, but still kind of keeping that fun element of the complaining there, although I don't know how to balance those two things out, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I remember that Akira Kurosawa, the great film director, once said something like that: I'm never angry because I don't have the time for it, or something like that, because of course if you have that anger and resentment and hatred, that takes so much time, and time that you could use for more productive things, like I have said many times already in this video. But at the same time, I think, again, many people say that film is all subjective or art is all subjective, but I don't think that's the case either. I think there are certain objective things that we can say about art, while maybe our just pure enjoyment is like very subjective, but there is also objective qualities to art. So I think saying art is all subjective is a wrong statement, and we should say that it's mostly subjective, because that debate, of course, is very important and interesting, and people have it all the time. And I'm not expert in aesthetic philosophy or anything like that, but yeah, it's very interesting still. But then there is also the question on how should we then kind of go about like disagreements in art, and how should we still be able to make kind of cultural criticism if we don't care about kind of other people's opinions, and if we try to focus on kind of the enjoyment aspect of art rather than, again, the resentment and anger. So I think, again, there are many kind of downsides to people not being into art, or only being into, for example, like pop culture and stuff, and never and if they never engage with anything kind of deeper than like Marvel movies or Taylor Swift or, I don't know, Harry Potter books or whatever. Because I think art, like I have said a million times in this channel, it's such a good way to learn empathy, to become a better person, to develop your mind. I guess reading, for example, it develops your vocabulary. You also become a better writer yourself when you read. But if you only read trash all the time, you won't have that same improvement as you would have if you read quality stuff. So I think we should be able to make statements like this about like the importance of high art and why people should engage in it. But at the same time, I should somehow kind of avoid having resentment and anger towards people who still decide to only consume trashy art. So there is a very kind of fine line here of being able to like make certain type of cultural criticism, but not let the criticism become resentment, anger, or hatred, or whatever. And that's pretty hard to achieve, I think, especially because I have for a long time felt like very deep sadness about how such a huge part of the population doesn't care about art and doesn't want to deeply engage with art and doesn't want to support great artists or whatever. Like, that deeply saddens me, and I think it will always sadden me. But it's so easy for that sadness to become, again, anger and resentment, and I shouldn't kind of let it become like that I should still kind of fully, obviously, respect people and live and let, and have that live and let live attitude with people, whether they are intellectuals or not. Like, that sounds so pretentious, but whatever. yeah, so there are lots of these kind of mental battles that I have with these types of things, because I do in general very much have that live and let live approach to life, that even if people do things that disgust me or annoy me, I think they should be able to do those things even though I think those things are stupid or wrong. And that's again both relates to politics but also art, and of course art and politics are intertwined as well, as everybody who knows about these things know. Yeah, but obviously many people say that don't put politics into these things, but they are political whether you like them or not. And of course I think many people also kind of hate watch films that they don't want to see, or hate listen to music that they don't want to listen to, and things like that. And that's another form of kind of anger and resentment that can be very unhealthy. Although there's a fine line here as well, that I think it's good to sometimes engage with things that you think you will hate, because you might at some point kind of change your mind and start liking them. And I think it's good to challenge your mind with things that you disagree with or things that you don't like, because oftentimes that is the way towards enlightenment, you could say, in a pretentious way. And it's also, I think, good to give things a second chance, or a third or fourth or fifth chance, because oftentimes your mind might change. And of course we as people, we constantly develop and change. So that means that if you read a book when you are 15 and then read it again when you are 25 and 35 and 45, you are a different person each time when you read it. So that also will affect your opinion of that work. Although sometimes, of course, our opinions also stay the same and don't change, but I think it's still good to give room for changing your mind. I think that's very important. Like I have, for example, changed my mind on so many things, even like very big things, like even politically I went from one direction to the completely other direction throughout my 20s, for example. So I'm a good example of a person who has changed a lot throughout time. And also my taste in art has changed so much throughout time. Some things stay the same, but many things have changed completely. Yeah. But I think it's also like I said earlier, that I've kind of been masochistically like looking at comments that I know that will make me angry. But I think while that is like toxic in many ways, but I think it's also good to be willing to engage with other people's thoughts that are different to your thoughts. Of course, that's a way towards growth as well. And I don't want to be in an echo chamber, but I just need to kind of find a way to not get so agitated about those things. Yeah. But yeah, also I think maybe one final thing is that of course there are certain opinions that we should get angry about and we should have resentment towards, because of course some opinions are just, you could say, even like evil. So we should of course get angry about that, although at the same time maybe shouldn't get angry to the point that it will kind of ruin our lives, because of course we cannot really do anything about those things. And of course there's that saying that don't get angry about things that you cannot do anything about, and I think that's a good thing for the most part. But also I think when we see something that's not just, or something that is again bad or evil, of course we should also feel angry about it and have some form of resentment about it, because if we feel nothing when we see something like that, we don't want to change the world for the better. Yeah. But anyway, I might return to this topic later, because this was very much of an incoherent rant, and we'll see if anybody comments on this and offers me any interesting thoughts, because that would be very interesting to hear how you go about this. That do you kind of get angry when somebody disagrees with you, or do you just say that, oh, each to their own? Yeah. And like I said earlier, when I think about it logically, I'm very much each to their own type of person, but then sometimes my emotions take the better part of me, and yeah, I get angry for no reason at all, which is really stupid. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see how I'll grow with this stuff, and I'll try to mature up a bit, because I think I'm very childish and immature when it comes to these things, and I need to grow. Again, in 2 years I will be 30 years old, so I really need to grow before that. I'm getting so old, and it's time to mature up before it's too late. Yeah, but let me know your thoughts. I think these are fascinating topics, and yeah, thanks for watching. Don't drink Coke at all. Sayonara and arigato gozaimashita.